My name is Alina Adams. I was born in Odessa, USSR. I wrote 2 books set in the Soviet Union. My daughter was born in America. I'm going to tell her about the Soviet experience through books.
Welcome back to season 2. It's 2024. We know it's season 2 because your hair is shorter and it's different colors. You want to show everybody the hair? So, welcome back. And our first book is going to be Your Presence is Mandatory by Sasha Vassiliuk. And it's actually very exciting. This book comes out at the end of April, but we're so swaggy now that we get books early. You're laughing at my use of the word swaggy.
Now, as a teenager, you kind of think that your parents aren't cool, but as someone who likes books, it is kind of cool that you get books early. I have to agree with you.
That I slay.
Yeah, you slay sometimes. Sometimes we get new books. Now, let's do a one-sentence summary, because we don't want to spoil too much before the book comes out.
Absolutely not.
But one-sentence summary of what this book is about. Start us off.
All right. Old man in the Soviet Union. That's already a sad beginning. Old man dies. Secrets revealed. I'm a sucker for like family secrets and stuff like that. I really love those kind of stories. So if you're like me and you like the kind of stories where either somebody dies or somebody disappears and you have to try to figure out their past, then this is exactly that kind of book. It's World War II, so as your older brother always likes to say, that's not going to end well. So it's got World War II in the Soviet Union, and then it's got the collapse of the Soviet Union and all the fun that happened in between. So I want to read you something straight from the book. It's not a spoiler because that premise is sort of spoiled in the back. But I'm going to read you a paragraph and then I'm going to ask you some questions, okay?
Okay.
Perhaps the theme had been wrong to keep silent after all. Maybe their whole generation was wrong to be so secretive. Maybe what they needed to do was talk about all the complicated ways in which they had survived, about the nuances of real life that weren't pretty enough to make it into history books. So I've got to ask you a question. You're actually lucky in that at one point you knew all 4 of your grandparents. Your paternal grandmother is gone now, but you still have 3 grandparents, and you heard a lot of stories. So let's start with something very simple. Youth. Do you care?
I mean, yeah, I do care, mainly because I do like telling stories through video and making content and recording stuff and taking pictures, because I think that's just a cool way to remember what's going on. I like it more than words.
So your generation loves to use words like, let's unpack that, and you love to delve into trauma. You love trauma. Your generation just loves the word trauma. So let me ask you this. This character in the book is old, and he has kept a secret for 50 years. And your generation seems to be of the impression that people should always be talking about how they feel, and they should be unburdening themselves, and they should be talking about the past. But let me ask you this. What good would it do for an 84-year-old man, like let's say, oh, I don't know, your grandfather, because your older brother's always saying, I think we should unpack that whenever he says, because he's one of those who has lived how many lives, how many jobs has he had? He was a paramedic. He worked in a theater doing lights. He was a dancer in the theater. He was, and when he was in the army, he was a biologist. He was a biochemist. He led tours of Odessa. So these are the kind of things you're talking about, right? Well, you'll be sitting there eating your borscht, and suddenly you'll mention something, go, oh yes, that was like the time that I rode that rocket, or something like that.
He's so Barbie.
He's so Barbie. There you go. I'm sure if he's watching this video right now, he has no clue as to why he is so Barbie, but he's very much so Barbie. But on the other hand, your grandfather has probably been through some things, having been born, let's say, of January of 1941 in the Soviet Union. Let's assume he's been through some things. What good would it do an 83-year-old man to suddenly start unpacking his trauma like your generation loves talking about?
I don't know if everything needs to be unpacked, but maybe we should, talk about things. It's important to, the whole thing, like, why do you learn history? Because then you're doomed to repeat it, which is how every single history class starts.
You said it backwards. You don't learn it. No. You learn history so that you're not doomed to repeat. Good job. She does good in school. She pays attention. It's actually the opposite. Nice try, sweetie. In Your Presence is Mandatory, the character does face that decision, and since he's not a real person, we don't have to be worried about it. So if you are into family sagas, if you're into the secrets that all Soviet grandparents must have, then check out this book, which will be out at the end of April.
I think you're really raising everyone's standards that, like, if you know any old Soviet person, they die, you'll get to go on a whole mystery adventure thing. And I don't know if that's true. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have 2 new hair colors.
Okay, so now it's your turn. Go
I
ahead.
want to try something new this year.
Okay.
Just like City Hall.
I love not life too. Okay.